Exactly. Something satisfying about that fly swatter, isn't there?
There is. How are you, Ty?
Good.
Oh, you got kids coming in right when we get
Oh,
started.
right on time. It's like they waited for me to start the recording.
And then, let's go bug daddy right now when we're trying to shoot. The most popular news channel on all of YouTube around sports cards.
How about that intro? Perfect. Welcome, family. Dude, how are you?
I am good. I played softball again last night. Man, I'm telling you, as a 48-year-old trying to play with all these 20-somethings. But I held my own. Julie said that I played really well. So she's probably
Well, I mean, your wife saying you play well isn't exactly like
and bringing
doesn't give you street cred.
Boy, that's true. That's true. But
yeah,
I'm getting less sore every week, if that helps.
Okay. I'm assuming you're a power hitter, right? Are you hit for power?
I do. But I haven't hit one out because we use T-ball bats. It's a co-ed league and the guys use T-ball bats. So I'm hitting everything off the end because I'm used to a longer bat.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Anyway, but it's a lot of fun. I'm having an absolute blast doing it.
Good for you. Good for you.
Way to really branch out.
We had some friends my boys had some friends in town from Kansas City, and we've been hosting them for 2 weeks. And I'm actually taking them back to the airport today. It's been a blast. We've done some cliff jumping, some hiking, some biking, lots of boating. It's been really, really fun.
Man. And then it'll turn into winter in about 3 weeks. And
Close enough. Close enough. Well, let me ask. We have a couple big topics to talk about tonight. Let's start with Bill Russell, Vin Scully, a couple deaths. I feel like they come in waves where a couple names happen, 3 or 4 at the same time. The question that always comes up on Twitter is, does the death of somebody impact their sports card prices? Is that true? I guess for one, how do you view that? Do you rush out to go buy a card from somebody that just died?
No, but I think others do. I've seen this happen, and it does, but it's usually temporary.
Okay.
It's like any other piece of major news with a player getting in the Hall of Fame or something. It temporarily affects it, but I think it's because it just raises awareness.
Yeah.
It's more of a, whoa, Bill Russell, you hear all these, Bill Russell was amazing, and people go, yeah, he was amazing. I need to go buy some of his cards. Or Vin Scully was the voice of multiple generations. Actually, he broadcast for so long.
Yeah.
I can still hear Vin Scully's voice broadcasting a game. I mean, it is as timeless as anything in baseball.
Yeah.
So people go, oh, and like Vin Scully doesn't have a ton of autos. Bill Russell has autos, but they've shot through the roof over the last few days. One of our friends, friend of the channel, Josh, rated rookie, bought a Bill Russell rookie. And then the next day he died. Like, it was very fortuitous timing. He didn't know, obviously, Bill Russell was going to die, but he's glad he bought that card now. Huh? Or did he? Right. But Willie Mays is old. You look at Sandy Koufax. There are guys that you can go now. Like, hey, we don't know how much longer we're going to have these people around.
Yeah,
I might, and I've done that kind of talk on my channel before, even on this channel on Golden Age of Cardboard and stuff like that. So I just think it's more awareness that leads to a temporary spike. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it's the key word there is temporary. It's not like all of a sudden people are like, oh, I'm going to like really put all my money into Bill Russell. It's short term, and it's usually things like autographs where those are going to be, they never happen again. Like that to me is the key. It's like if you can go buy autographs, like Kobe Bryant stuff when it happened, like those autographs never dropped in value. His rookie cards came back to earth because there's lots of them, but the autographs are
a finite number now, right?
Yeah.
And like Bill Russell, top 5 players of all time in NBA. Like, you could really make that argument. Like, he was a legend, but he was pre-Kobe, Jordan, LeBron, right? He's old school greatness that, you have to know your stuff to know who Bill Russell is. I mean, the dude won like 1,522 championships, I mean, it's just unbelievable what he did with the Celtics. And so just go learn about. Hopefully, people go learn about these guys and go, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
we're showering all this love on guys we're watching today. There've been some great ones, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and especially like right now in the current marketplace where everyone seems to be gravitating towards vintage, like all it does is it just gives you more reason to go pay attention to vintage because now you have another person to go look into, right? It's easy to go buy a Mickey Mantle or a Willie Mays because everyone knows them, but like the guys like Bill Russell, they're kind of swept under the rug in many ways.
yeah. Do you think that's temporary? Meaning this gravitation towards vintage, which, oh, by the way, I'm seeing it too. I agree with you. Do you think that is a fad, or is it more of a permanent thing?
I think it's more of a permanent thing because I think more people came into the hobby and a lot of people lost money in the hobby. And they look at the only safe haven in the hobby, people that want to stay in and like, man, I love this. They're going to go towards things that aren't just, absolutely overprinted and diluted. I do think what happens is the vintage era gets moved newer and newer and newer, quicker and quicker and quicker. We're going to find late 80s, early 90s qualified in that vintage world now. The Griffies, the Bonds, those
Right.
guys are going to be considered vintage by this new wave of collectors, I think.
And to them, it is. Like
Yeah.
the,
Yeah,
the
right.
reality is,
Exactly.
it is to them. I think when you have stuff like the 52 mantle, that's at Heritage, the 9.5 SGC, those things only bring more light to vintage, to like, whoa,
Yeah.
but
Right.
like I have a PSA 4, Al Kaline 1964
Yeah.
top, you know, uh, I, I do think it's a rising tide lifts all boats, but I don't think you're going to see tremendous, but where you're going with that is 100% correct. You just don't see the fluctuations and the downside, even in this recessionary environment that we're
Yeah.
in, this economic turmoil, inflation, yada yada. And vintage is holding its own for darn sure, if not doing well in certain areas.
For sure. That
There you
Those
go.
are vintage. Those are vintage now in my book. I know they don't make the cutoff in the typical
Well,
vintage
the funny
world.
thing is, we define what it is.
Yeah.
Like, we get to choose. If someone says an 81 tops Joe Montana rookie is a vintage, I'm not going to argue with them.
Yeah.
I think maybe we can do that. We have the power to redefine vintage.
We have the power. Okay, we'll have to come up with a tune for that. I think that's
But
good.
speaking, and this isn't a power trip, but dude, we broke some news last week that was picked up by a lot of people, and we were right. Obviously, I mean, we had sourced that. A lot of people were like, "How do you know?" And we made sure that we weren't
Yeah.
reporting something that was even possibly not true.
Yeah.
And since then, several other major distributors, we're talking about GTS and them losing their tops distributorship. A lot more shoes are dropping.
Yeah.
So where are we headed with this, Ty?
Yeah, and there was a lot of great comments. If you haven't watched the video, it's a short video we put out last week, kind of late night. The comment section was the best part of that because you saw a lot of people coming out and giving their opinions. So go back and read the comments. You'll probably get educated on a lot. But there's a couple themes that I noticed. One, people tend to agree that just because this is happening, it makes you want to think that Fanatics has like your interest in mind and that they're going to lower prices and this is a way for them to like collapse the pricing. We both agree and most commenters agree this is 100% not the case, right? This is just a way for Fanatics to grab more money, right? And I think what's going to happen is that we're going to find that this direct model that everyone's kind of wanted for years is about ready to come to fruition, and it ain't going to mean cheaper prices.
But could it mean, I agree with you, it will not mean cheaper prices. Could it mean starting to weed out some of the less popular products? Meaning once they start going direct and people are like, I don't want, tops opening day. Well, do you think they'll put the same stipulations on the hobby shop direct guys or whoever to say, well, if you want Series 1, you got to buy this much of opening day. Do you think the same model just switches to Fanatics versus a distributor?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, Fanatics is going to optimize the crap out of this. Like, I foresee them doing more like a print on demand type thing. Like Series 1 for 2003 is coming out. Like, who wants to pre-order this? And it's a pre-order like 60 days, 90 days in advance. And that determines, give or take 20, 30% what they print of the product. And if there's a crappy product, they don't print as much. But with that being said, I think the big concern that I have in all of this is that if the reason distributors are important is that they shield the hobby and manufacturers to a certain extent on bad products because they carry the burden, right? If Gypsy Queen comes out and nobody buys it, the manufacturer didn't take a hit, the distributor did.
Right.
And sometimes the hobby shop does too, because they'll get allocated and buy stuff in advance. Like, and hobby shops are important because they are pushing these crappy products on their customers and they're finding ways to sell it. When that like disappears,
right,
good luck. I mean, yeah, you might get more margins on product, but you're going to sell a lot less of the crappy stuff.
Right. And that's my point is I think it's going, and then they'll go, well, we're not going to make that anymore because we only sold 20% of what we did when we were using whatever, whatever their metrics are to determine the success or failure of a product. I think we'll start seeing less products, which is not a bad thing, by the way. In my opinion, I think there's too much out there as it is, but I don't know. I do know that I feel confident. I can't say I know because I'm not in the room talking with them, but I'm confident that Fanatics has a plan and they know what they're going to do and they're going to execute it. And it may work, it may not work, but they are not who they are by going into things. Well, let's just hope this works out. They've totally thought this out and they know 3 steps ahead of what they're going to do. And we said this last week, but
and to your point, that doesn't mean it's going to work.
Right. Totally.
Right. They can plan it out 3 steps, but it doesn't mean like the hobby's going to accept that.
Correct. They may have to change their plan, but they have a plan.
Yeah.
It just may not work. So what does that mean for the future of, because it's not just, we're talking about Topps and mainly baseball right now, right? Topps still is only doing baseball essentially, right? They're doing other stuff, but of the 4 major sports, they're only doing baseball.
Right.
It's only, to me, gets more layers of complexity when you add in NBA, NFL, and the Panini thing. If Panini gets bought by Fanatics officially, right? Oh my gosh. And maybe that's it. They're trying to make less complications now so that when they get more complications thrust upon them, they can deal with them a little bit easier. That would make sense to me, but that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it is. Oh, and like that is the next big piece, right? That's what's hanging out in the balance right now is this whole Panini thing. Do they get acquired? Do they not get acquired? I mean, that changes things considerably, but either way, we know the licensing expires. They have a runway of 18 months now ish, 2 years max.
Right.
Fanatics can do whatever the crap they want, right? And they got the Topps brand to push these products out.
None of us are naive enough to think that they're not going to acquire Panini. But I also think, why? What does Fanatics gain from that? They're already getting the licenses.
It's IP. I feel like what they gain is the IP.
Okay, so the intellectual property of Panini.
Brands.
And brands.
Product names.
So are we going to have Prism football and Topps Chrome football? Do you think there's that much brand loyalty? Or is it we're going to have Topps Chrome football with zebra striped parallels, and all the different parallel stuff that Panini has come up with over the last few years?
Yeah. I don't think it makes sense for them, and especially in this marketplace now where you don't want to have to tread uphill and rebuild brand loyalty. bring Topps Chrome football back when you know Prism football works. In an ideal world, I think they would kind of keep brands, like the brand's the same. That's the way I would handle it because it's already built. But if they don't have Panini brands, they have no choice, right? They can't. They have to start Topps brands into different sports again, which maybe takes a lot of
Chrome football and basketball would be huge. They'd
be huge, but Prism basketball and football are already huge. They're already huge.
Well, I went to my Walmart yesterday. I could have bought as many blasters of basketball Prism that I wanted to. There was so much of it on the shelves. I bought 0, just so you know. I did buy my top set.
What is that, like 60, 70 years in a row?
50 years in a row. I have 50 years now of top sets, plus a couple of vintage sets that I've worked on, but straight 73 to 2022, every top set. And I get one every year. These are it was $60, $59.98 or whatever. 5 rookie image parallels.
Is that Target or Walmart?
This was Walmart.
Okay. So that does not include the gold foil.
The rainbow foil. No, that's hobby only, I think, actually.
No, there's the colored options and the Target ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You don't open those though, right? You keep them sealed.
So the last couple of years I've bought several, and I like to see if I get the parallel set, you know.
Yeah.
And the last couple of years I've opened several and gotten a parallel set. But then I go, I don't know why I opened. That didn't move the needle for me. I don't know. It's just fun to open something, I guess. And so right now I only have the one. It'll stay sealed. If I get a couple of more, then maybe I'll open a couple of them just for fun.
Yeah.
But grading those complete set variations, typically not a good move. Like, it doesn't move the needle.
No. People
want the base version, not like I figured based on there's like, I did the math the other day. There's a crap ton of just hobby sets, that have the rainbow foil parallel thing in them, number to 390. So 390, you can do the math, right? How many cards, and you can tell how many sets they printed. It's a lot just on hobby, and retail's even worse. And there's all the boxes. I mean, there's just so much of it out there. It's ridiculous.
There's a lot out there for sure. Back to kind of where do we go from here? The question that came up a lot was, this is great. Thanks for breaking the news. Who the heck is GTS and how does it affect me? How would you answer that question? And I think we're gonna have a video later this week with a couple card shop owners talking through like what that process, like what it really means from the hobby shop perspective. But how do you answer that question to people that are asking, like, what does this actually mean to me?
Well, the answer is, what does it mean to you as a collector is nothing really. For now, it will, because it's still going through the end of the year, which is another 4 months. But GTS is one of half a dozen or so distributors around the country that buy product direct from the manufacturer and then redistribute that among, and that's not including, the guys that do retail, the distributors that do retail, right? So it's meaningless to the average collector, which is why we got so many comments on it, because they're the nameless, faceless people behind the scenes, doing stuff. It was certainly shocking, not shocking. None of us were, neither one of us, I should say, were surprised that this happened. But it's like, whoa, the timing of it was interesting right after the National. It was just, okay, they're getting their ducks in a row, How would you say it matters to the average collector?
Well, I think it will eventually matter because once we start to see how Fanatics is going to play this, like, are they going to gravitate towards other distributors, or are they going to remove the whole distributor, like, supply chain, piece of the puzzle? Because that affects your local hobby shops. It does. And I think a lot of hobby shops will get hit by this eventually, whether they say it or not. Like, the longest relationship in the hobby is broken, means Fanatics is wanting to stir the pot and is wanting to kind of mix things up a little bit. And if you're not running a solid business on the hobby shop side and your main distributor pulls like out of your number one product or your number one manufacturer, it affects you. It will affect you. And I think it's going to take some months, maybe the beginning of the year, but I think we're going to see a lot of hobby shops close. Because it happened with GTS, it happened with Magazine Exchange. We haven't heard anything on Southern Hobby. I think Peachtree's probably affected. So all the big boys are getting affected outside of Southern Hobby right now. I think that affects relationships on the very last step of the process, and that's getting product to the hobby shop. So that's important.
If you're a collector a year from now and you want to buy a box of Series 2 tops, you can either probably go to your hobby shop, Lids, apparently,
right,
or direct online.
Yeah, I think it's going to be
different than it is now, really.
Well, we're assuming you can get it at your hobby shop. Number one, like if the hobby shop has a relationship that's well built with Fanatics.
Okay.
I think we see a big shift towards, we just got to buy it online now. I wouldn't be surprised if Fanatics put some sort of like news out soon about a partnership with Amazon, a partnership with the, Walmart online, where they are pumping out maybe not just retail product versions, but maybe even hobby SKUs on those types of sites to test the waters with that distribution channel.
What if the idea down the road, I'm totally spitballing, this is totally on the fly.
100% here too. I have no info to back that up.
What if there becomes no retail or hobby? It's just Topps Series 1, Topps Series 2. There's no hobby exclusive products anymore. And they're just going, look, you can either sell it you can buy it from us for your shop, or they can buy it online, and there becomes no distinction. That would be, again, totally just like, I wonder if they're going there with that. And then the hobby shops have the reason there's hobby exclusive products is that they want to help a product, right? And they want to provide incentive.
Yeah.
If they take away that incentive, that would be interesting. Wouldn't shock me if they did that.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That's interesting food for thought there. I'd be curious to know what folks think about that. Like if there was no hobby or retail, just one product, and it was distributed through all the same channels, how would that impact things? Because like if you think about that all the way through the process, it's kind of crazy to think about.
Well, it makes it easier, makes things much simpler.
Or does it, right? I mean, you put high-end stuff at a Walmart, that doesn't make things simpler.
No, that would be like there would be certain high-end products that are online exclusive, or
sure.
But you would, you could still have different configurations of distributing the product, meaning a big, a jumbo box. You would have a retail box that's less money, but less you would still have different ways to buy the product. It would just be, there are no quote unquote exclusive things. Wheels are turning. I don't know.
I like that idea.
No, I don't know. I don't buy new crap. So
yeah. Well, I think from a hobby shop side, I think the takeaway for me is if you're not focused on building community right now and you don't have a strong community, then you should be
your
worried.
Network. Yeah.
Yeah. Like people obviously come in to buy product, but at the same time, they're coming in because of the community aspect of the collecting. And I know the good hobby shops, like people come in there to hang out.
Yeah.
And they buy singles and they hang out and do trade nights and stuff. That stuff becomes even more important for like the sustainability of a hobby shop right now.
Yeah. You got to make it a destination place to go and do more than just pick up your weekly allocation of new Topps releases or Panini releases, right? Yeah. It's got to be more than that. And I just realized how hypocritical it was for me to say I don't buy new crap, and I'm holding a 2022 Topps series or complete set. I don't buy boxes to break and stuff. I don't buy into breaks and breakers. They might, they will.
There's no might. They will be affected.
Of course. Seeing how that plays out over the next year. And I think the next year is critical for this hobby.
I do too.
It's really important, even though all the licenses don't start happening till, some of them, they kind of trickle in over the next 3 or 4 years. I think the next 12 months in this hobby is super important for the sustainability of it beyond that.
Yeah.
There's going to be some critical decisions that have to be made that have to be done right, or you're going to piss off a lot of people and maybe potentially drive away people from the hobby.
Yeah. I agree. The hobby's not going anywhere. I don't think that's the issue at
No.
all. Right. We all can agree with that. But when you invest as much money as Fanatics did and you start and the numbers start to come out the next year or two that they're losing money, that's not good for the hobby. I think it's going to happen, but it's not good for the hobby, right?
I don't think they'll release it.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, yeah,
They
you're
don't
probably
have to. They're private.
right. Yep.
And I don't think they'll tell us.
Yeah. Interesting.
Let us know down below what you think about all this stuff. Me being a hypocrite and no.
Yes, please comment on that.
All right. Anything else, sir? You got anything this week? We got Chasing Cardboard coming out this week.
We do. Episode
8.
Episode 8 comes out this week.
Where is it?
It is in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, 2 collections that we see.
When does the Tulsa stuff start coming out?
Tulsa's 2 weeks away.
All right.
Yeah.
I loved your video where you talked about how y'all were doing, the progress.
Oh, the report card stuff?
Yes. Those are fantastic. I love seeing that stuff because I get even deeper report cards than you guys, but even still, it's a lot of it's like, whoa, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So very, very cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
I think I'm going to do a solo Golden Age, kind of piggybacking off this idea of what's next for the vintage market and kind of just giving my thoughts on that. I'm trying to do that later this week, but I got a lot going on. I'm doing Hobby Hotline tomorrow night. So I'm the engineer in charge, whatever. Okay. So if you want to come watch Hobby Hotline, I'll be doing that tomorrow night, 8:00 Central, 9:00 Eastern. So check that out. We'd love to have you. Just come on. You can live show, talking with different guys. So
have fun with that. Have yourself a good week.
You too, man. See ya.
All right, see you guys.